Navigation. Where are we? Where are we going? How do we get there? And more importantly, how do we get back? We all navigate. I navigated to the toilet at 2 o'clock this morning. It's a consequence of getting older. When I was 18, I could have stayed out at the pub till closing time, gone home and slept for 10 hours. No more. Anyway, the navigation. If I hadn't been able to navigate, I might have gone straight on this morning instead of turning left into the toilet. And if I had done, I'd have fallen down the stairs. So navigation is an important skill. You all navigate daily. You may go to work, you may go shopping. If you've got one of those big out-of-town shopping stores, we've got one. Nearest one's referred to normally as Meadow Hill. You go in there, you might find it difficult to find a shop you're looking for. So they've got a board, a map, to tell you where you are. And if you orientate yourself in the right direction, you can follow it and get to where you want to go. You know, right at Next, straight on at Marks and Spencer's. But more and more people, young people especially, wouldn't know what to do looking at that map. They've got a different way of finding their way around. Gadgets and electronic devices are taking over. If they want to find out where PC World is, they probably just look at this and say, Siri, where's PC World? And it'll tell them. We travel the country in our cars. Years ago, every car used to have a map in it. Mine still does. Now we don't have to bother about that. We have a machine in there. It tells us when to turn left and right. Half the time, we haven't got a clue where we are till we arrive. But what would you do if all those gadgets suddenly shut down? Well, we could use the sun, the moon, the stars. The Vikings found their way here from Scandinavia. Christopher Columbus managed to find America. We could use the wind, the trees, the flora and fauna. Even birds and insects could give us a clue as to which is north, south, east or west. Now I'm not going to show you how to use one of these to find your way around with. My preferred option is a map and compass. That's something I practice regularly how to use. Now you might ask yourself, why does a clever clogs like Clarky need to practice? Well, one time I led a party of my friends up to the top of a mountain in the Lake District, in thick fog. When we got to the top, I turned right to lead them back down to the car, and more importantly, the pub. Unfortunately, we were going the wrong way. I should have turned left. And that turned out to happen simply because I was holding the map upside down. Now I'd like to say that that was an isolated one-off incident, for if I did, all my friends would just shout liar, and that's why I practice. Well, before we set off out into the wilds of Derbyshire, there's a few things that we can prepare at home. So we'll pop back to my place and I'll show you what I mean. Well, here we are back home. First thing I'm going to do is pack my rucksack. Now we're only going up there for a day, but we're going to be going off-piste, as they would say in ski speak. So there could be a chance that if anything did go wrong, I had a small accident, I could be out there for a while because there isn't going to be anybody anywhere to help me. So we're going to pack the rucksack, bearing that in mind. I have a list that I use to go through whenever I'm packing my rucksack, whether it be for a day or for a week. But as you know, me packing a rucksack is a painful experience, and you'd think after decades of doing it I'd know exactly what I want for each trip. Nah, not the case. So we'll omit the packing the rucksack part of this video. Just suffice to say, it will be packed with things that I need for the day. Well, the next thing we need to do is decide where we're going. Well, obviously I've got a vague idea where I'm going. I've got it in the back of my mind, but so we come to the map and compass. So we've got a map, got a nice little compass here. This is a sighting compass which I'm able to look through and call it a sighting compass so that I can sight on where I want to aim for. Once I've planned my route, I'm going to make some marks on my map and work out a plan of what I can do to practice my navigation. To show you that, we'll put it on the big screen and you'll be able to see it in more detail. So here's our map. I've decided we're going to start from this point here and we're going to make our way across to Cloudberry Moor here. Straight across the moors, a small ravine there which we'll have to negotiate. But I'm just going to work out a plan exactly which way we're going to go now. So I've marked on the map our direct line and I've decided to aim for some grouse boats. They're marked with these little black dots. There's 9 altogether, so I'm assuming that the one at the end is either going to be numbered 1 or 9. They generally have numbers under the grouse boats. When we get to here, we're going to move on to the next stage. This will involve crossing this ravine and the river and then making our way up to this point here. This all looks very simple, but probably the most important thing you want to learn if you're going to know how to read one of these maps is to understand what these contours do, because they give you a vivid picture of what the terrain looks like. As we've just seen, we'll be using this compass here. It actually has I can't say that word, clinometer. Anyway, a thing that measures the angle of the slope, and that's what this is here. We also have some measurements here. You can use this to measure distance on 2 different types of maps, 125,000, 150,000. And it does numerous other things that I'm not going to bore you with. The main thing that this is useful for is the fact that I can look down there, use this sight here to aim for where I want to go, and to enable me to see the compass needle to make sure it's set in the right place. We've got this mirror that will lift over and I can turn it to an angle where I can look down there and I can also see what the needle's doing there. Before I set off, I'm going to work out the angles. So from our start point, I made a note on the map ready for when we get there. First stage is we're going to go at 238 degrees. Second stage is going to be 230. 1.75 kilometres to start with, 0.8 kilometres the second bit. We'll go into a bit more detail of what we're doing when we actually start. There's 2 very important things got to do before we leave. One is check the mountain weather. I'm looking on the Met Office's Peak District weather. That's going to give me all the information I know to decide if the conditions are safe for us to go out. And finally, the most important thing of all, I'm going to print off some maps and I'm going to leave details of where I'm going. Then if I don't arrive back at the time that I've stated, at least somebody's aware that I've got a problem. Okay, let's go. On our way, I've just decided to pull in. We weren't going to deal with the aspect of using the moon for navigation, but we've got an ideal example of it just outside. So I'm going to turn the camera around and give you a look. So there we have the moon. At the moment it will give us a good indication of which way's south. If you look at the highest point on the crescent on the right hand side, and draw a line down to the bottom of the crescent. If you were to carry on that line all the way down until it touched the horizon, that point would be roughly south. Useful when navigating at night and you just need a general direction. Okay, we're ready. Let's move on to the next stage. Well, we're on our way now. It's about -3 and the sun's just coming up and it looks like it might be a nice day. So here we are. This is going to be our start point. I've chosen this because it's got very distinctive features, so I know where I am easily by just glancing at the map. We've got a sharp 90-degree left turn, we've got a stream running through the bottom and the road climbing away. So I'll just get myself up onto a bit of firmer ground and we'll have a look at what we're going to do. Now the idea of this exercise is to learn how to navigate in reduced visibility like fog. Now before all you observant types suddenly say Clarky's gone bonkers, there is no fog. Yes, I know that. The idea is to practice in perfect conditions, and then if you do find yourself in that situation, you've got a good idea what to do. Behind me is miles and miles of rough open countryside. What we're going to try and achieve today is just one very small aspect of navigation. We're going to try and walk in a straight line to a given point. Now, because of the terrain, walking in a straight line will be difficult, so we're going to put some techniques in place that will help us get round that. Now, if you are new to navigation, the first thing that would probably confuse you is that there's actually 3 norths. We use north a lot with our compass to get our bearings, so having 3 norths can be a little bit confusing for the beginner. We've got true north, we've got grid north, and we've got magnetic north. The 2 that we're going to be concerned with today are magnetic north and grid north. Everything we take off the map isn't the correct bearing. We have to adjust it because the magnet is influenced by the magnetic pole, which is a little bit, at the moment it's off to the west of true north. So I won't go into the details of what it is and how we get there, but suffice to say we would have to adjust the compass every time we took a bearing. Now another aspect of this compass that I showed you before is that you can actually preset that to whatever that figure is, whether it be minus or plus 1 degree. it's got a little adjusting tool, and this has now been set up so that whenever I take a bearing off the map, it's going to be the correct bearing for me to follow over the land. So what we've got is our bearing, and what I'm going to do is navigate to points about 100-200 metres apart. If it was foggy and we had somebody with us, we could send them ahead until we lost sight of them, or almost lost sight of them, and use them as the marker. Now I've got myself lined up on a tuft of grass. Now I can't walk straight because I'm going to be going through a bog, but because I know where my next point is, I can walk around this bog and hopefully get there without getting wet through. The next thing I'm going to need to know is how far I've gone. Now remember, I'm not using the GPS, so I'm going to use one of these, and I'm going to use pacing. This is a little clicker, and I'm going to click off all the double paces I do. I know in a straight line on flattish ground I do 70 paces, double paces, for every 100 metres. Now obviously if I have to bend left or right, it's going to be slightly more, and I'm just going to have to guesstimate that. First point, one tuft of grass. Quite tough going. The heather's about up to my knees. So we've got to the 500 metre mark, and one way I can check if I'm still heading on the right route is by doing a back bearing. That is to say, look back to where I've come from, take a bearing off it, and it should be just 180 degrees more or less than what we've got. So I'm having a look back down there, and we came in on the left hand corner of the wood down there, and yeah, we're more or less spot on. So we'll carry on, check our bearing here, mark on the map what we think our position is at having walked 500 metres, and then plod on another 500. Hard going. I've just made my first mistake. My back bearings disappeared as we've come over the ridge. What I should have done was line up with another back bearing beyond it that I could still see from here. So I've had to guesstimate where my back bearing was and pick up another one further in the distance. This is why we're out here, to learn these little things. Last time it was this thing that caused the problem. I was using the compass in that hand rather than take this off my finger, and because it's metal it affected the compass, and we found ourselves 5 degrees out for the first mile before I realised what was going wrong. I suddenly realised we're going downhill and we shouldn't have been going downhill, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm a bugger for going down the wrong side of a hill. Okay, well, we've got a rough idea where we are now. We don't think we're too far out, so we'll plod on a bit further and see if we can still hit that first grouse put. according to my clicker, we should be nearly there, and it appears we are, because right in front of me, on this side of the valley, near to the sheep on the right there, there's a grouse butt. The question is, what number is it? If it's number 9, we're miles off. If it's number 2, that's fine. If it's number 1, then I really am a clever clogs. Let's go have a look. Whoops. Yes! Yes, 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 yes! I am a genius! Number 1. Yeah. 1,331 paces. Double paces. Amazing. Just bloody amazing. What you're seeing here is a very big look of surprise. If it had been number 3, I'd have been happy. But number 1. Yes. Okay, now we've got all the euphoria of finding this place. We're going to head over there for our next leg. Now this looks a bit steep. What I do is, what I usually do, follow an animal track down. They usually take the sensible route. A nice easy route across the river. Boggy bank that side. Deeper here for a better bank. I think we'll go for the boggy bank. It's shallower up there. There we go. feel like I've just done the Grand National without a horse. Seemed like a good idea when I was sat at home in the living room looking at little lines on my map. Well, yeah, I'm going to die. It's quite a nice place, but I'm not, because you can't get rid of me that easy. Right, let's press on. Come on, up and at it. Well, made it so far. Made it to the first grouse butt. Made it across the ravine. Our final destination is about half a kilometre directly that way, but we're going to get short on time, and I don't want to be back later than the time I stipulated, so I'm going to wrap up now, make a bit of a detour off that way, and that should eventually bring me down to proper road track that leads all the grouse people up here. And as you know, I'm quite happy when they're up here shooting grouse. It makes me feel a lot safer. So we'll make our way home, and I hope you enjoyed the crawl across the moors. Well, here we are, back where we started. Let's see if we can educate you just a little bit further on what you've just seen. For a start, Clarky is probably not a genius. Very lucky, but not a genius. Well, you may have been thinking, finding this north business can't be as complicated as Clarky makes out. Well, consider this. Greenwich in London, in the first 2 weeks in September last year, true north was the same as magnetic north. If you were to take a line from Paignton in the southwest, through Swansea, up through Holyhead, up to Stornoway, you would find that magnetic north was the same as grid north. If you're in Leeds, magnetic north is about 1 degree to the west. And next year it'll be somewhere else, and the year after that it'll be somewhere else. So it might not be as easy to find as you think. And then there's the weather. You don't always have to look at the computer and study the synoptic charts. My wife, she looks out the kitchen window, she observes, and then she advises me not to go, which I ignore. Now you might wonder why I'm sitting in a car, slowly getting all steamed up. Remember what I said earlier about checking the weather report? We even checked it, didn't we? We had a look at it. So I've driven all the way up to the Woodhead Pass, where I parked up, ready to set off, and the weather is horrendous. I can walk in it, I can navigate in it, but I can't film in it. So maybe I should have paid a little bit more attention to that weather report earlier. So what you've just seen was at least my second attempt to do this video. And as for now, what am I going to do? What I normally do. Wimp out and go home. And what about that dodgy camera work? That bloke Bear Grylls, when he crossed through the undergrowth, he's got some special forces made who carries the camera behind him. I ain't got no special forces made. All I've got is a piece of string. And that's no way to treat an expensive piece of photographic equipment. And finally, if you want to learn navigation, you can always join the army. I did, and as a highly trained, skilled member of Her Majesty's forces, I could navigate my way around 9 or 10 pubs, not necessarily in a straight line, but always arriving at the correct destination. Now that's what I call navigation.